On the island of Sodo, high up in the mountain, was a mysterious boulder. It had stood alone for a long time, but one day, workmen arrived to build a quarry on the land below. Was it the little Dizzle met Thomas and Percy? Percy asked, replied Rusty. Asked Thomas, said Rusty nervously. Just then, Edward arrived. He was delivering a new piece of machinery from the quarry. Asked Rusty, replied Edward. Soon someone was working hard. The men were pleased, but no one bothered to check the boulder. When it rained, the workmen went away. Rusty gasped up and shivered. Above stood boulder. Suddenly, a large slab of rock landed on the wheels. Rusty was shocked. Driver was concerned. The next day, the sun shone. Tom was working harder than ever. Suddenly, Rusty noticed something, said the driver. But it's cold, said the driver. But boulder was nowhere to be seen. Then, just ahead, there was a small junction. One line went uphill. Boulder thundered past. Meanwhile, Squirrel was making his way up to the quarry. Then he saw Boulder. Boulder was catching up fast. Shouted Squirrel, called Rusty. Boulder rounded a bend, and there ahead was Phineas. Yelled Phineas. His driver drove him back as fast as he could. Like his driver at the yards, Percy was collecting trucks. Then he hit Boulder, squeaked Percy. When the Topham had inspected the damage, he decided to close the mine. Then he looked at the boulder. They moved Boulder to a hill close by the yards. Rusty is sure that on a clear night it is gazing up at the mountain, and that its sides are being carried on the wind where it once used to stand firm and silent. I wonder if Rusty right, don't you? Gordon was resting in the siding. Sometimes he thought. Whistle Henry, spelled Gordon. Asked Percy incontinently. Then it was Henry's turn to take the express. Gordon watched him getting ready. Henry went off in a huff, and Gordon yawned and he went to sleep. But not for long, says driver, said Gordon. Gordon's fire was slow to start, so Edward had to push Gordon to the turntable, getting him facing the right way. Grumbled Gordon. Puffed Edward. At last, Gordon was on the turntable. The movement had shaken his fire. It was now burning nicely and making steam. Gordon was cross and didn't care what he did. He waited till the table was halfway round. He hissed. He moved slow forward to jam the table, but he couldn't stop himself and slid into a ditch. He is, says driver and fireman. They teleported to the Topham Head. On the other side of the ditch, some little boys were chattering. They began to sing. Gordon lay in the ditch all day. He thought, but that evening they lifted Gordon and made a rope of slippers under his wheels to keep him from the mud. Strong ropes were fastened to his back, and James and Henry pulled hot match to bring him to safety. Late that night, Gordon crawled home a sadder and wiser engine. It was a beautiful morning on the island of Soda. Tom's attention blue paint sparkled in the sunlight as he puffed happily along his French land with Annie and Clover. He was feeling very pleased with himself. Whistled Percy. Boasted Thomas. Said Toby. Added Percy. Huffed Thomas. Percy said no more. He just grinned at Toby. Later, Thomas was visiting when Percy arrived. A large chopper was loading his freight cars full of coal. Thomas was still being cheeky. He won. Mounted the cars. Went on Thomas. The last load powered down. Cried Thomas. Percy was bored, but he couldn't help laughing. Thomas' smart blue paint was covered in coal dust from smokebox to bungle. Chuckled Percy. Chuckled Thomas. It took so long to clean Thomas that he wasn't in time for his next train. Toby, we had to take Annie and Clarabelle, whispered Annie to Clarabelle. They were much upset. Thomas was grumpy in the shed that night. Toby thought it made a great joke, but Percy was cross with Thomas for thinking he made his paint dirty on purpose. Next day, Thomas was feeling more cheerful as he watched Percy bring his cars from the junction. The cars were heavy and Percy was tired, said the driver. The water column stood at the end of the siding with the unsafe buffers. Suddenly, Percy found that he couldn't stop. The buffers didn't stop him either, wailed Percy. The buffers were broken, and Percy was real deep in the coal. It was time for Thomas to leave. He had seen anything. He chuckled to himself. That night, the two engines made up their quail, whispered Percy. Replied Thomas.